Guys, welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So we're switching our focus now off of Google's phones and back onto this guy, the LG V30. Now, since LG kind of struggles in this whole timely phone launch department, we've been off and on it for a couple of months. I know you guys have been dying to hear some thoughts. So here's the good news. This is LG's best phone without question. Like, we may as well just get that out of the way. This phone does so many good things and is such a complete package that we're really excited for what LG's got going on in the future. But here's the other thing, and this is sort of always the thing with LG phones. Is it good enough to get you to skip what Samsung and Google are doing? I think this time, especially for a number of you, it may very well be the phone for you. So let's dive deeper into that. This is our LG V30 review. So the V30 is the third generation V-line series from LG, a series we dubbed years ago the Stuff and Things line of phones. Now we called it that because at the time it seemed like LG was searching for a direction for this new line of phones, so they just kind of threw everything at it, including things like a steel frame and a secondary display. Fast forward to the V30 and some of those stuff and things are long gone, and the V series has been fully defined as a media machine. LG spec'd this thing out, but they really want you to be able to take the V30 and create amazing movies, take beautiful photos, and listen to high-end music with this phone. In order to be able to do that, they tossed in a 6-inch POLED Quad HD display, dual camera setup with 16 megapixel standard and 13 megapixel wide-angle shooters, quad DAC, and IP68 water and dust resistance, as well as a military standard 810G compliance. So you've got the tools you need to create, yet some of the toughness for those situations where you also need protection. The V30 also features a Snapdragon 835 processor, 4 gig RAM, 64 gig storage, and a 3300 milliamp hour embedded battery, as well as wireless charging. You can buy the LG V30 right now from almost any major carrier at a price at or around $800. It's not the most expensive phone, but it's definitely not cheap. For the most part, I've got no major complaints about the LG V30. As I mentioned, I've had it in hand off and on for a long time now, mostly in between other reviews, so I feel like I know it pretty well. It's got pretty great cameras, a fun display, solid battery life, and a fantastic design. Seriously, this is one of those phones I just wish everyone could get in hand for a little while. Speaking of that display, as you probably know, this is a 6-inch POLED Quad HD display. I actually just mentioned that. It's made by LG though, and is likely the same panel that is used in the Pixel 2 XL. I think it's totally fine. It does the same blue shift that people have complained about from the Pixel 2 XL, but I think the colors are a bit more vibrant. There's also color profile control, so you can really fine tune this display to show imagery the way you like it. I found that the brightness gets both crazy bright and crazy dark, which I'm a huge fan of since I use my phone in dimly lit situations often. Has a nightlight mode too for those, as well as always on display. I've really got no complaints here, especially since I look at my phone directly, not from the side. Now about that design, just look at this guy. And remember, here it is in my hand, yet that's a 6-inch display. It's a one-handed phone that has a display this big. Like, how cool is that? Sure, there's a bit of bezel, but a bit of bezel is probably better than absolutely no bezel if you want to avoid things like unwanted touches. I can't say that I'm as much a fan of all glass phones these days though, which is what we have here, because I've had a drop or two in recent months and glass just, well, it isn't really premium or strong. Can we please quit that narrative? However, the blend of glass to metal frame to glass again is done really well here. There is such a perfection to the smoothness of this phone thanks to its curves as it flips around between your fingers. And as an added bonus, LG even managed to make the dual camera setup not a disaster of design. That's actually saying something. In the camera department, I'll probably miss the cameras on the V30 some as I make my way to the next phone, and I say that because no other setup allows for this kind of versatility. Plus, LG's cameras seem to be getting better and better with each release. So you've got a 16 megapixel standard shooter at f1.6 along with a 13 megapixel shooter at f1.9 and a 120 degree view. You can seamlessly flip between them with a tap of a button or by just zooming in and out. You can also launch into the camera app with a double tap on the volume down button when the phone is locked. I wouldn't call these cameras fast by any means and would probably label them on the slower side to both launch and snap, but I think the quality of the overall experience is good enough to not make that a deal breaker. On a related note, LG gave you more modes to shoot with than I think I have time to tell you about, but here are a few. They included a cine video mode that aims to produce cinematic videos with preset filters and a sort of pro-style zooming effect. They also help you line up your food photos for Instagram, create grid shots, and of course, go full manual if that's your thing. And that's sort of the big takeaway here, this idea that LG wants this to be the ultimate creator tool. When you look at what's available here, it's hard to deny that they aren't leading the charge. As for results, the shots I've taken they're pretty good. I definitely don't think I can brag them up like I do the Pixel 2 XL shots, but they are usable, and again, I do love the different angles I can capture here. My problems with the photos taken are this lack of sharpness or an inability to properly focus most of the time. I just always find most objects to show a bit murky or muddy in any zoom or crop, or just completely not in focus when I thought they were. I definitely got some good shots, don't get me wrong, but would like to see a little bit more consistency, and I'm sure software could help improve that. Battery life has been decent for me. Tim reviewed the AT&T model and I've been on the Verizon version. His battery life seems better than mine, though that could be because I live in the Verizon black hole of signal death. On my first week or so of testing this unit, I was getting a solid 4 hours of screen on time and no need for a charger by the time I went to bed. In recent days, that has changed some to more like 3 hours of screen on time and the phone begging for a power cable in the early evening. So I call it average battery life with the potential to be better. And keep in mind here that this is a phone that doesn't have a removable battery, which is a first for a V series phone. The V10 and V20 both had swappable battery action, and so this may be a huge disappointment for longtime V fans. It does have quick charging though, and wireless charging for the first time. As far as software goes, LG's Android skin is probably never going to be my favorite, but this certainly is the best version yet. They call it UX 6.0 Plus, and it has some good stuff like the previously mentioned nightlight mode and a floating bar that has replaced the secondary display from previous V series phones. It gives you access to your favorite apps and contacts, that sort of thing at all times. Knock On is here too, as is LG's take on Face Unlock, a GIF capture feature always on display that shows you notifications and battery life, and a really great feeling vibration motor inside that can be customized. I have noticed some stuttering and hiccups on this Verizon version though, which is surprising since the G6 and V20 were two of the better tuned phones I've used that aren't made by Google. Maybe it's this Verizon version, or maybe it's time for LG to do some more cleaning house on this somewhat bloated skin. Either way, LG skin is no longer completely offensive. For the most part, tries to not overwhelm you with extra fluff. It's even starting to look more and more like stock Android in the notification panel and that sort of thing. I would recommend tossing on a third-party launcher immediately though. And here's to hoping that LG can step up the update game and give this Oreo in a hurry. In terms of other goodies, LG did indeed toss in a quad DAC for the audiophiles in the building. Hate to admit this, but I'm probably the last person on the planet to tell you if it's a great DAC or not. I do listen to music a lot through my smartphone. It's just not the hugest part of my life, so I'm no audio geek. With that said, the amount of controls LG gives you over your audio experience is pretty great. You can adjust filter, tweak balance, change profiles, and really lock in the audio profile for the music you've picked or just for your ear. LG included its rear-mounted fingerprint reader again as well. It's certainly fast, and as much as I love this rear spot, I hate that LG couples it with the power button. This is a super nitpick thing, and I'll admit that now, but LG needs to give up this double power button fingerprint thing and just put the power button on the side of the damn phone where it belongs. I can't tell you how many times the phone has done the opposite of what I want because it thinks I want to unlock because I try to lock, or the other way around. And finally, you've also got bottom firing speaker that is okay, USB Type-C port, and micro SD storage in case 64 gigs isn't enough. For me, there's no denying this is LG's best phone to date, and because of that, I'm just gonna put my hands up like this and go, good luck deciding on which phone to buy. And I say that in a good way because that means this phone is up there with Samsung and Google's phones, and so it's gonna be a hard decision no matter which way you go. But with this phone, consider it's got more versatile cameras than just about anyone. It's got a great display, it's got solid battery life, and the design is really that good. This thing feels amazing in hand. Now, consider the fact that it's also about $800, and Google and Samsung now want about $1,000 for theirs. So when you consider price and all of the stuff they packed in here, I don't know that you should just be considering it. I think we should maybe be considering this one of the best steals in all of smartphones.